Anyway, I mean it with the greatest possible respect to the idiots that I'm referring to. How important are looks in the hiring process? I mean, stuff that you can't change about your appearance. Well, you guys are observing my magnificent physique here, and you know how magnetic I am because of it, right? So look no further, right? In fact, it's so obvious that on some of my videos, I get people like saying, "Are you real? Are you sure you're a CEO?" It's like, yeah, it's that level of greatness that it will do for you. I didn't get those comments when I was thinner, but I do now, which is really fun. But listen, there's actually a known principle, syndrome, that you will find in HR textbooks, okay, that are used in educational institutions right now, called the hotness factor. Totally unprofessional term, but that's what they call it. And it's self-explanatory what they're talking about. It confirms with data and through scientific studies what I think we probably all know, or at least suspect, is that looks do matter to a degree. People who look fantastic, it goes a little bit easier for them. You know what I mean? People that are kind of funny looking, like yours truly, and most people to a degree, they don't have that halo of greatness around them, and as a result, things don't quite work out the same. It's a little bit tougher, takes a bit longer, but it is just one factor. It is not the entire thing, right? So it can play a part. Now, it's also highly variable because depending on what industry you're in, obviously there's industries where looking fantastic has more of an effect. It affects the results you get to a greater degree, right? But in other places, you work in the back, or whatever, it's less important. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's also, the other factor is that it's cosmetic, right? So what tends to win out in the long term are things like communication skills and charisma. Like those are things that, they're not based on appearances directly. They're more based on skill or personality or things like this, right? So those tend to have a bigger effect, but in the long term, okay? And also it is still highly variable on your industry. So that's the extent that I know about it. But it is a thing that they actually study in HR, in the study of employees and organizations made up of individuals. They actually study this stuff. That's one of the things included. And I know this because I taught a course and we used the textbook, and that was in the textbook. They devoted a couple of pages to that. How important, I can't say. There's no absolute answer. It varies, but it will always be a factor to a certain degree. But don't, like, if you are finding this depressing hearing about that, don't worry, because it's not the major factor in most things. So, you can easily make up for it in other areas or go around it in other areas. You know what I mean? And I've always been a big fan of like things like networking and stuff where you go around the official process. You hack the system in a way. You don't follow a procedure. You don't stay in your lane. You don't ask for permission, or, you know what I mean? You do what you want. And most people are content doing nothing. Some people can leapfrog all of the factors like this by taking initiative and being the only one that showed up. You know what I'm saying? That's what I love about networking. That's why I used it to build a consulting business. That's my day job. The thing that's in this course where I talk about that, and I specifically give a system that introverts can use. I give a couple of different things in that course to do with networking. It's because that's what I used myself, And And I'm not exactly Brad Pitt, so I mean, it worked out.